We all look for something we can never find. As we all need peace of mind. Lonely wretch on the street looking for love. $20 beneath the sheets. Is this all she thinks of? We all look for something.
Three, two, one.
Hey, Timmy, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, pretty good here. We got July 10, and you're back from Myrtle Beach.
Oh, man, look, at every time I come back, I wish I didn't have to come back. I'm looking out the window here, and it looks like my house is going to get picked up and blown somewhere.
Pretty bad. It's blowing pretty hard over here, too.
Yeah. So, yeah,
You got a
I'm
good
back.
show, though, tonight.
Yeah, we always have a good show, don't we?
Yep.
Your mic's working good?
Yeah, well, I put up with listening to you for about the last 6 months on that. And plus all the people podcasting out there, all the our viewers, tell Tim to turn up his mic. So I went out and bought a $25 mic, the same mic you got that you paid, what, $160 for?
I paid $200 for it.
Yeah,
You got it for $50, but you're a better shopper than I am.
$25
So, hey,
on eBay.
well, you're a better shopper. I don't even know how to use eBay,
Yep.
but here we are. And listen, we got a good show tonight, like you said. Got a special guest. We've been asking Sean Higgins, Second Ward Council member, to come on for quite a while. He wasn't easy to get because he works, another job, and he's working at nighttime. But he's got a couple days off, and he called and said he could come on. So we're happy to have you, Sean. Welcome. Can you see us?
I see you.
Where's your big head? Get it in there. Kid. Fit it in the screen. We got two big heads. We're like bookends. And then you got little tiny Timmy in the middle.
Yeah, I see me. Yeah.
You got the two big bookends, and we got Timmy squished
Right.
in the middle.
Well, because I'm winning the background contest right now.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, Sean, hey, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. I know I've been a pain in your ass. I text you. I yell at you. Come on. But I know you're busy. You're still working at the jail, right? So you got a lot going on up there. And I know Sheriff Apple works you guys to the bone. And you got a lot going on in Cohoes. So I want to just start talking about the whole ambulance fiasco, because that's really something that you kind of walked into after you got elected, right? I mean, before you were there, quick flashback. Before you were there, Troy Ambulance handled our city for 25 years. They decided they were going to retire, sell their certificate of need to that ambulance company, which is really a corporation. It's not a privately owned ambulance company. They specialize a lot in transporting people back and forth from hospitals, the nursing home, the dialysis. They really weren't a emergency management kind of entity, but they were trying to get into that, right? So there was a situation where you had ambulance come in and say, hey, quick, we'll do it for $1 million a year. You had Mohawk saying, hey, we'll do it for free. We're just not going to station an ambulance in the city, which did not bother me at all, especially as a firefighter for 28 years in the city. With the system that we have, that wasn't a big deal, 6-8 minutes for an ambulance. But they were going to be free. The city decided to spend $1 million of taxpayers' money for probably the least best of the two. Then you get elected, and there's still a lot of noise going on about this whole ambulance thing, right?
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about how you guys then had to dive into this whole ambulance thing.
So after our meetings, Adam approached me and asked me if I would do the public safety committee. Basically, because I work at the jail. I've been there 18 years. I was also a volunteer firefighter for 20 years, and I worked on an ambulance for a long time. So I had a little background. So the first thing that I did was I reached out to Mohawk via email, and I asked for, just to sit down with them, just to kind of clear the air, because it was my understanding that there was some issues previously about things that were said, and my first approach was to meet with them and just, kind of see where they sat. So I went there. I had a great meeting. They were great to talk to. After that, I started to do public safety meetings, almost every other week. I got the EMS task force back involved, and I got, the new council members. We all kind of got together at least once a month to go over proposals, ideas, opinions. We met with people, interviews. There was a lot of people that, were involved and wanted to be involved because it's a huge topic for the city. So after having the conversations, I did a ride along with the fire department. We went and we sat down with the fire department. They had a big union meeting and let myself, Adam Biggs, and Rainbow Domel come in. We had a big conversation. It was about an hour and a half about where they stood, what they wanted, what they were looking for long term. Because what we really wanted to do was come up with like a 5-year plan of where they saw the fire department over the next 5 years. That being, contracting with a company, then maybe moving to a BLS ambulance, and then at the end of that 5 years, the fire department being an independent, ambulance provider for the city. So Adam and I went and sat down with the mayor. We asked him if he would go out to RFP for the ambulance, knowing that he was looking for a 5-year contract. We knew that ambulance already had the contract for that time being, and the mayor agreed that he would go back out for RFP. So after the time frame came up, when the bids came in, Mohawk was the lowest bidder, and that's when we started an interview process with ambulance and Mohawk, which was last month, the beginning of the month. We had 2 public safety meetings last month, because the first one was a interview with ambulance and Mohawk, it was really an eye-opening experience. And then after that, we had another public safety meeting where we voted on our recommendation that we would bring forward to the council meeting, and which we did at the common council meeting. I gave our recommendation of going with Mohawk. At that time, we voted, and it was 6-0. We voted for Mohawk to take over ambulance service for the city of Cohoes, based on their level of care, their expertise, being a local agency, and they're having contracts with mutual aid agencies. And also the big thing for us is that they have 30 ambulances on the road at all the time. Mm-hmm. We're ambulance, the other day we had 2 calls in the morning, and we didn't have an ambulance for the 3rd call because the time frames at the hospitals are 2 to 3 hour turnarounds. And, last year we did almost 5,000 calls. So not having the availability of an ambulance, it's just something that we need to provide to the residents of the city.
And there was no mutual aid with that as well, right?
No, there was none.
Right, and that was part of the big problem.
Yeah, so ambulance would call, their mutual aid is that they call Newburgh or wherever,
right,
and they try to get another ambulance to the city, but we're waiting for either an ambulance to come out of the hospital or an ambulance to come from wherever they get one from.
So here's the funny story. I want to just kind of get the people watching understand this. So I think you guys did an outstanding job, which was you got together. The mayor wanted to go one way. The fire chief wanted to go another way. You guys wanted to go a different way. You exercised your rights. You stuck together, and you said, hey, we're going to vote for Mohawk. Mohawk is probably the better ambulance. They're a locally owned ambulance. They have a lot more ambulances on the road. Here's the thing that bothers me, and it has nothing to do with you. What bothers me is that the very ambulance that we ended up with today, not knowing when they're going to start, we'll ask that in a minute, but the very ambulance that you guys have decided is the right one would have come to our city for free just 9 months ago, for free.
At no cost.
So at no cost. And we're still now paying $1 million because Joe Fod basically gave them the screw and said some bad stuff about him. They threatened to sue the city if he didn't cease and desist. And then when you went back out for bid, they said, well, screw them. We'll just go in for bid for, $1 million and see if they'll take us based on we're a better provider. We have a better service. We're a local service. And what happens? You guys take the service that we could have had for free. So applauds. Is that a word, Timmy?
Yeah.
Applauds?
Yeah, it's good enough for our podcast.
Yeah. I want to applaud the city council for making the right choice. Mm-hmm. But sadly, the mayor and Billy McCarthy and Justin Alicio and a couple others,
Briggs and Russell.
all of them. Matter of fact, Biggs, all of them. They have placed a $1 million bounty on the heads of our city for the rest of our lives in this town. And I will assure you, as much as I think it's going to rain tonight, you guys are going to be in a big pickle because you don't have $1 million of extra money to pay $1 million for an ambulance. We're going to have increase in fire, increase in police, increase in DPW, garbage hauling, increase in National Grid, increase in this bill, that bill. And you are using the rainy day fund. He's not saving money. He's taking rainy day money, making it pretend he's got zero budgets, which is a huge failure, which has put cities in bankruptcy, this guy's doing. And then all of a sudden we just pull it out of our ass. We have an extra $1 million for an ambulance. You guys picked the right one. You guys weren't the ones who put the city in a pickle. You were the ones who said, hey, we're screwed now. We got to pay $1 million, but let's pick the best ambulance.
Yeah.
In our view, in our opinion.
I think they did.
And I think you did. Sadly, we are $1 million a year city for an ambulance.
Until we can work out of it.
I don't know how you work out of it. And I asked you this question, Sean, because I really believed, and I will stand corrected. I can only go back for when I was the time I was a firefighter involved in the unions, negotiating for ambulances and EMS companies, etc. I think Keeler changed the whole landscape for a lot of cities across this state who are now going to be forced to pay enormous amount of money to have an ambulance stationed in their city when they used to do it just for the call volume.
Yeah. So if you don't have your own fire department,
that's right,
doing it, you're going to get hit like we got hit.
And so I've always said incompetence doesn't only screw the place where you're screwing up, it spreads. There's a residual, and that residual is Keeler made a huge mistake. Now he's paying $1 million. Did you talk to other cities like Green Island and Albany? Does Albany pay Mohawk Ambulance?
No, they do it off call volume. So they pay $500,000 a year for their fire department to have stipends for their EMTs and paramedics.
As we do. We don't have paramedics. But we have stipends.
Yeah, we pay $30,000 a year for our EMT stipends.
Yes. And my argument to all these smart EMS know-it-all mother effers that think they know everything, we have a paid fire department. So the system doesn't require, like it does in the boonies, where the ambulance is the only provider. We have a fire department that has EMTs trained as high as an EMT can be trained. We can provide Narcan. We can provide albuterol. We can provide shock if you're having a heart attack. We can do all of the things that 90% of the ambulance people can do outside of pushing some drugs for a paramedic, right? Absolutely. But at the same time, I used to tell people, the fire department's going to be there within 2 or 3 minutes, okay? If it takes the ambulance 6-7 minutes, the fire department's still not even done treating you in the house before they get there. So it's seamless. It really is. 95% of the time when I was a firefighter, we'd be in the house 15 minutes, 20 minutes before we even got them packaged to leave. You're taking vitals. You're getting the information. If they're bleeding, if they're having other kind of major issues, you're treating them. Even a heart attack. You're working on a patient for quite a long time in the house before you're even transporting them. Mm-hmm. So with a paid fire department and an ambulance coming within 6 or 7 minutes with 30 ambulances throughout the district, taking that free shot was just as good, if not better, than what we have with this other ambulance. And it didn't cost $1 million. And taxpayers are going to be hurting. And we're going to be going back to the days of John McDonald and Bobby Signoracci when they had bills come in, no fault of their own. The price of everything was going up. And they didn't have the luxury of having COVID $1 million COVID money, extra money for small cities that we have right now. They had to figure out how to do it by cuts and layoffs and taxes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You're going to be right back into that same thing because money's not going to come back from COVID. And yeah, there was a little extra money for small cities this year, but that will go away, and certainly not enough. The rainy day fund, to me, looks like it's being depleted. And it looks like what they did is took money out of the rainy day fund and created this bullshit title, tax stabilization fund. And really all that is money from the rainy day fund put into a different name. So it looks like you're not raising taxes.
Yeah.
But really what you're doing is you're robbing the savings account. And the city's in trouble because why all those monies start disappearing, how do you fix them? So why I applaud you and your efforts and a lot of the things you do, you should be proud of. You're a rising star in this city's political landscape. The $1 million is going to hurt us. It's going to hurt us, man. And
So where is the future, Sean, as far as our own fire department doing this? I mean,
So-
is there a timeline? I'm hearing that maybe ambulance doesn't get shooed out of here until maybe next April. Or when does Mohawk actually start to take over? Do you have any idea on that?
So I met with Chief Odd the other day. He met with ambulance last Monday. He met with Mohawk on Tuesday. According to him and, of course, Brian Kremer, the contract for ambulance is until April. There has to be a 90-day notice given to ambulance before they can be, relieved of their contract in the city.
Yep.
Mohawk was advised of that, and they were very good with, knowing that, they have a time frame to do transition. They're going to have to hire some more people, because we're starting to, because of them being housed down here, they'll have to transition some of their employees down here. So that's something that the council is still looking into is, the time frame. Just to go back a little bit on, what you asked before about the firehouse taking over, it was important for myself and other members of the council to sit at the fire department and talk to the members to see what they really wanted. Because for the council to go and say, hey, we're going to get an ambulance and you guys are going to use it or, provide, ambulance service, we didn't want to do something that they weren't willing to do, because we heard rumors that the fire department, the members didn't want to ride on an ambulance. They weren't interested in, driving it, working it. But we went there and, I take my position as chairman of this committee very seriously, and I'm very involved with, the stuff that goes on in the firehouse. I'm down there, on a regular basis, talking to the members, trying to make sure that, things are going okay. And, they were very willing to step up and, become paramedics. Mohawk offered they would come in and train all of our firefighters to the paramedic level. They've offered free EMT classes. They've offered a lot of community resources, Narcan training, CPR first aid classes to, the city. So, that was a huge thing for us, was that they were willing to help the transition from the fire department to an ambulance service within the fire department.
Sean, if I recall, didn't Hudson Valley say they would do it in-house in Cohoes? You
Yes.
You didn't have to send people over there. They could do it
you still had to pay them though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look at we had the training. They passed a law in the state of New York, and I don't know if it's still available to us or not. But you used to have annual training, biannual training. But because you're a paid department and you're already doing 4,000 or 5,000 calls a year, they allowed your actual work to be your training. And then our lieutenants, we created lieutenants within the department actually to do training. And one of them's paid. There was one that was paid an extra $4,000 a year to be the liaison, and then we had a doctor. We had everything that you needed to be trained right here. And whether the fire department wants to hear this or not, they work for the city. If the city decides they're going to transition into an ambulance, then the union's going to have a stake in the negotiations, and there may be some pay raises and stuff like that. But the city has the upper hand. You work for the city, so I think the young guys would be. Maybe the older guys. Look, I retired. I was getting tired of getting up 14 times a night and then going to work again. And the older you get, it's a young man's job. But I think you have a great staff up there. There's some great firefighters. And I think you got the best ambulance company. I think the city under Keeler really screwed the residents, and that $1 million a year is going to come back and haunt us. You know, they're talking about a $600,000, I would call it a screw up in the water filtration.
Well, that's solar.
Those solar panels.
Yeah, and you got hit with another $50,000 for
Cutting the grass.
Oversight that, they needed to bring small trucks up, load them up, and then, to clear out all the perimeter, interior perimeter of the reservoir.
I think the city needs to in order to make a city run, the leader's got to love it. He's got to eat it, sleep it, breathe it. I used to go in at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, work till 9 o'clock, 7 days a week, right? You can already see the mistakes that happen when somebody's not putting their heart and soul in it. That $1 million mistake. Sean, you're down in an area where you're seeing crime run rampant. I had people send me 50 pictures today of garbage all over the streets. All of these things were addressed. We had these things all taken care of. We had landlords getting fined $2,000, $3,000. It only happened once. And I promise you, they weren't throwing garbage out, neither were their tenants. Alleys were clean. Police were walking the beat. There was no problems down on Main Street, Congress Street, White Street. In fact, people would call us and say, it's never been so quiet. I don't know what's happening, but I hope your committee and I hope your dedication, which is what everybody sees so far from you. And I know it's a strong mayor form of government, so all you can do is advocate. Keep advocating. You've done an outstanding job. You and the council, your committee did an outstanding job, and we appreciate it. And we'd love to have you come back on again and talk about some of the other things that are taking place in the city. But hey, I used to say the squeaky wheel, you got to keep screaming out loud because the people that you represent, they really need you right now. And when you go down to that end of the city, you can see the despair in a lot of people.
I got to throw him a nice bone here because Adam Biggs is out in Notre Dame, you're saying, right?
Yep.
Yep, that makes you the acting president of the council.
Yes, sir.
So that means you should get his pay.
Hey, Sean, thanks for being. Thanks for your service.
I just got one thing I got to say.
Sure.
If you don't
Yeah.
mind. I'm sure you saw Green Island had that huge fire the other night.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know this, but our own police officer, Rob Piazza, was working Green Island that night, and he was, one of the first cops on the scene that was able to pull that elderly couple out of the house and save their life. So,
Wow.
Rob Piazza is he's always been a superstar in my eyes. I found him to be one of the best police we had. I made him a detective. I think he ended up going back onto the road, but he's fantastic. I think our emergency services are really second to none. I mean, I put out fires with 6 guys. Albany was doing it with 36, right?
Absolutely.
We were a good little fire department with far less people. And that doesn't make us better or make us worse. It just means you have to do a lot more stuff. So you become accustomed to, being like the farmer, man, who's out there working his ass off nonstop. That's what the fire department did here. That's what the police department did here. I'll be honest with you. I think the leadership it needs a change. I think Joe Fod, I've always liked Joe. I had my problems with him. He worked for me. I worked for him. But you know what? He's up there. It's time for him to start looking at the greener pastures and moving on. I think we have to have better policing strategies because the crime is running rampant. And I get calls and texts and messages every day. We don't see the cops. Nobody's walking the beat. I will tell you, when downtown, when I took over, was a shithole. We turned it into, I like to call it a utopia. All the businesses came back, all these high-end apartments, all people living there with disposable income, no crime, cops walking the beat, 2 o'clock in the morning, you could walk anywhere in the city and feel safe. It's not like that no more. People are moving off Ransom Street, Main Street, Congress Street, White Street, problems every day. Lansing's Pool, first day open, you got a rumble going on up there. We need somebody to put their heart and soul into being Cohoes proud again, and realizing that without 24/7 dedication to those problems, they will keep coming back. We are 4 square miles, Sean. You either clean up 4 square miles to make it a utopia, or 4 square miles becomes a jungle. Right now, we're heading towards a jungle. And I have great confidence in your skills and the members of your council to not just roll over and let that happen. Stand up, be heard, be a true advocate for the people. You did an outstanding job on this. I know you'll do an outstanding job on a lot more. And
Thank you.
we'll
I
reach
appreciate it.
we'll reach out to you again and ask you to come on. Thanks, Sean.
Thanks.
So, Timmy,
Sean.
listen, I was talking about crime because it just doesn't seem to end, right? And so, just the other day, what is it, a day and a half ago, you got another shooting in Albany. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, Timmy, it doesn't end.
It always seems to be in the same geographical area, too, doesn't it?
Well, it is. Listen,
Down the
One
south
person
end of
is dead
Albany.
and a manhunt is underway after a brazen shooting in Albany today that happened on Delaware Avenue by Southern Boulevard. Now,
Yeah.
we're going to take you live to the scene right now. It's where CBS 6's Brianna Stupardi joins us live. And Bree, fill us in now. Tell us what happened all day today now, including right into tonight.
Liz, right now, police are still clearing the scene. You can see behind me that a tow truck has just arrived to haul out the victim's car. I'm going to step aside so you can see what's going on here. That blue vehicle there, that is the victim's car. He crashed it. We're told that the shooting happened in the parking lot across the street, across Delaware Avenue. Chief Hawkins tells us the shooter was on foot, started firing at the victim who was in the vehicle. The victim tried to escape, drove across Delaware Avenue before crashing here at this Stewart's.
so here it is again in the middle of the day. These brazen bastards who have been conditioned to just do what they want because nobody is going to do anything about it.
No bail reform. That's why.
Bail reform, raise the age. This whole far left agenda. And so now I think that's number 10 murders in Albany. I mean, they're ahead of last year. It's just, I don't know what to say anymore because
Yeah, early July, and it's not gonna. It doesn't seem to end, and it all boils down to that. These people are picked up, let right back out on the street within hours, and it's going to continue until the legislature down there gets rid of this crazy bail reform garbage going on.
Timmy, let me tell you how screwed up the legislature is, right? I told you when they were talking about Pat Fahey, who was an
Oh
assemblyman.
yeah, yes,
Pat Fahey was going to walk in and take Neil Breslin's job like she earned something, like she owns it, like Neil Breslin owns it. Like
Yeah.
people don't have a right to, want to run for that office. We're going to knight her. First
Right.
of all, she's a nut job. I don't know anything that she's done to do anything for anybody's life to make it better. The only thing I know about her is she wanted to take and make your 15-year-old kid be able to get COVID vaccinations that we know now are problematic. She wanted them to be able to do it without their parents' permission.
yeah, no consent.
That's the kind of woman that she is.
Yeah.
And she's a big supporter of raise the age, a big supporter of bail reform. So take a look at this. Here she is right here. So she posts something on her Facebook page. Stopped by the Stewart shops on Delaware Avenue this morning to talk with employees and residents about the late night shooting. And then look at the bottom. It's a selfie where they're all smiling.
Yeah.
What are they smiling about? She shouldn't be smiling. These are the people who are directly responsible for the mess that's going on in Albany, along with the mayor.
A photo op, okay? We see this all the time. Just photo op for her, okay? Okay.
So I'm reading this stuff about this poor kid, and I don't know what the kid was involved in. Excuse me.
But it's a headline for her.
But they're dead. The kid is dead, 21 years old. Somebody shot him, and they just take off down the street, and they go to Stewart's, and they take a selfie. Ha ha, look at me. We're at Stewart's. Oh, somebody
scene
got
of the
shot
crime,
last night.
yeah.
Yeah, we're at the scene of the crime. We're talking to people. You should bury your heads in the sand because you're directly related to what's happened. You're directly related to what's happened. Now, just a couple days before that, Timmy, you got 6 teens injured on the 4th of July from a shootout in Albany.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me just pull this up.
Developing news on a mass shooting in Albany last night. News Channel 13's Zach Richter has been following this story for us, and he joins us live from the scene now. Zach, good evening.
Faith, good evening. That's right. It was around 12:15 a.m. last night when shots rang out here and 6 teens were shot and injured. Now, we're being told that this was a large gathering and that the victims were shot in all different parts of their bodies, from their legs to their arms to their waist. One 19-year-old from Troy came out of the shooting extremely lucky, as the bullet is said to have grazed his head. Now, this neighborhood is no...
So here's what we have, Timmy. We have an animal party full of animals. And I'm sorry, because I don't know who was there. I don't know what they look like. I don't know the color of their skin. I know they're animals. You know why? Because they're all shooting at each other. And they're animals because Pat Fahey, who's at the Stewart's, putting on a smile on her Facebook page after somebody just got murdered, passes laws that tell these kids, don't worry about it. You're only 16. You're only 17. You're going to go to family court. Nothing's going to happen.
Yeah,
and so they're out there like
they're
out there like a bunch of animals shooting each other. Mm-hmm. This is a direct responsibility to parents not being involved, drugs being involved.
Where they get guns, for Christ's sake?
Right. Laws being passed that embolden them, and then Pat Fahey's of the world smiling on her Facebook page, taking selfies at a murder scene. I mean, This is the problem. And they all think that they're doing a good job. And now you got Albany just put a new DA in. He's as left as crazy as these people are. And so if you think anything's going to get better in the murder capital of New York, Albany, you're sadly mistaken. Mm-hmm. It's only going to get worse.
Well, you know what? It's trickling down to outside of Albany now. We've got our own problems right here in Cohoes, okay? The island down there, you got a lot of crime going on down there, okay? And it's seldom reported, okay? Even the incident, well, I believe you were away when it happened up at Lansing Pool, okay? Are you familiar with that?
Well, I knew that there was a big fight. Timmy, let me see if I can pull it up, because it's, let me just see if I
100.9 The Cat's playlist, Mercury Nashville recording artist Josh Ross with Single Again, now available everywhere. Fireworks, food, friends and family. Sounds like a great time. When celebrating America and July 4th, remember what the day is all about. Whether it's a barbecue or two, watching...
Wow. So, welcome to the jungle. You got fun and games.
Mm-hmm. What, did somebody walk through some warm water in the pool?
It just makes no sense to me. Mm-hmm. Now, I've been going to that pool for a long time. I've never seen no major fights like that. Now, kids getting fights all the time. But that is a group of people emboldened once again.
Yeah.
Who thinks they can tell cops, fuck you, get off of me, you can't touch me. This is crazy to me.
Yeah, and
this is just...
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
And the cops got to handle them just so.
Well, they got a mayor. They got a mayor who marched with Black Lives Matter. You think he's a left-wing liberal himself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The way these guys go after city employees, they're all afraid to do anything.
Well, this city, the leadership of the city's allowed it. This city's turning into a shithole. And if anybody disagrees with me, please tell me why. Because everybody who I talk to sees the same thing going on all over the place. I get calls from business owners, investors, people that I've known for a long time that say, Sean, should I invest in Cohoes? What's going on here? I stay out of it. You know what I say? Go down and see the King Keeler and talk to him, because I don't want to hurt my city. But I'll tell you this, if I could pack up and leave, I wouldn't be staying here. Mm-hmm. There's nothing left in Cohoes. 4 square miles of shit. Mm-hmm. Other than the people that I love and the friends that I made, I could come back and visit them. Yeah. I was down in Myrtle Beach. It was gorgeous. I go down in Florida. It's gorgeous. Streets are clean. Garbage is picked up. You know, they're not out fighting and screaming. There's, it's like a whole, look, and I'm not saying there's not bad places everywhere.
Yeah.
But when you're 4 square miles, when it becomes bad everywhere.
And there's
Right?
not, and there's really, there's really not a lot of things going on that you could see openly. Okay, I mean, I see they post certain events here and there on Facebook, but not everybody goes on Facebook to find what's going on around the city.
You got to do more than post events. You got to
Yeah.
be engaged. The mayor of the city is the
Not
leader.
engaged.
He needs to be engaged. You don't see him anywhere. He's not involved. I used to go up to the park and play flag football with the kids. I used to paint with them at the park. I used to get involved. I used to go to their concerts. You got to be part of their life.
Yeah,
You
and
got to be
don't
like
do
their
that.
big brother.
Like what if I want to know what's going on in the city? I got to go to the city website, go on Facebook, and then they have some event somewhere, such as a tennis lessons or 3-on-3 basketball sign up. But there's really no really strong on outreach. Okay, that we're looking to do this. I bet you they don't even have. I remember, Sean, when I was going way back, we used to have basketball.
Way back.
Right, men's basketball leagues that
Yeah.
would play right behind the middle school. There'd
Yeah.
be adult softball program. Remember Big Sticks and
I played.
bowling?
I played.
All of them. I mean, we don't have any of that stuff anymore. We don't have really any things for. You don't. What was that under? A recreation department? We used to have a youth bureau. Okay,
It was all recreation.
right, that gave kids city jobs during the summer, and they did none of that stuff
Look at
exists now.
some of that stuff still exists.
Some,
So Gil Ethier, I believe, was ahead of the youth programs in the county. So the county has the youth programs, and they bring them to different cities.
yeah,
The youth bureau used to have the basketball, the men's softballs. Cheryl Green and Steve Amiot and those people.
yeah, yes, yeah.
Again, you have to love your city, so you have to engage. You have to eat it, sleep it, breathe it, wake up and do it every day. As long as you're going to be the leader, you can't just sit in an office down there and tell people if you don't like it, move to another city. The city's getting dirty. Crime is getting bad. There's nothing for nobody to do. Some of the businesses that I was visiting just a couple weeks ago are telling me they're thinking about leaving. People who moved into the high-end apartments say we're not going to live down here and pay this kind of money. That people peeing on our cars and bums sleeping on the sidewalks.
Yeah.
Those things only happen when you are 100% disengaged in your city. When you're the leader, you should be involved in every aspect. And that's why I say you can clean up 4 square miles. We did it. But if you don't do it, 4 square miles can be overrun with weeds in just a few months. And that's what's happening. It's being overrun. And when you have a department that's led by a state trooper who tells you don't arrest nobody, don't do nothing, what are you going to have?
Yeah, if you're unhappy, move.
So,
Okay.
so the city is in a tough way. This guy's here for 3 more years. I think the city's going to be in a lot of financial problems. For the hundreds of people that are watching the show now and the
Yeah.
thousands that were watched over
Yeah.
the course of a month, write it down, put it under your napkin. You put your napkin under your computer, pull it out in 3 years and say, Sean Morris told you that you're going to see layoffs, cuts in services, and tax increases that are going to make your eyeballs spin because this guy is pissing away the money. He has no idea what he's doing. He's spending on things we don't need. Wrap your arms around 7 months ago a free ambulance that you're now paying that very same ambulance $1 million a year because you weren't smart enough to handle it the right way 7 months ago.
Yeah, and we would have had
That tells you.
cost. You know,
That's how incompetent it is. And if you
yeah.
think a small city has $1 million a year to pull out of their hat, you're sadly mistaken.
And then look at it, like we said, okay, we got hit with another $650,000 for his pet project, solar project, okay, and a few other things. Sean, are you ready to move over to my big experience tonight with the ethics board, the new ethics board?
I am, but you keep freezing up over there. You must have a cheap computer.
No, it's your internet connection.
It probably is. The wind's blowing so hard that it's lifting
Yeah.
up my patio table outside.
I don't see any freezing on my end. Everything seems to be going pretty good, but
No, you just
No.
froze three times,
Really?
and my lips are moving, and I look like a cheap Chinese movie.
yeah.
But have no fear. Our new program is up and running next week. We have a whole new everything. So
We're gonna see
we'll
if
see
that's
what
gonna-
$10,000 will do.
We'll see if
Hopefully, we'll
that-
do a lot better.
Yeah. So look at I went to the ethics board tonight. There was a hearing. There was 3 complaints. Okay, the first thing they look at. They said we want to start fresh and all these other things. We don't care about the past or whatever. But what they didn't seem to understand, and I'm going to tell you, was Stanley Shuzda.
Oh, I thought they were going to start fresh. He's like an old fart,
Right.
for Christ's sake.
Right.
Everything that guy's involved with, he screws up, and he's a big mouth. He's a punk, and he won't let you. You know why they keep putting him in there, Timmy? Because he'll scream and yell at you,
that's
and
what he did.
and pretend that he knows stuff. The guy's a moron.
And this is what he did. You know, in order to try to get new information for new members, you have to be able to give them a little history, not a long drawn out thing, but a little history of how compromised the old board was and how that compromising affected decisions that they made on past complaints. One example is the Christmas card things. Oh, we don't want to hear it. We heard, we know that, and this new complaint is just more of the same. Well, it's not, because what happened is it turns out that Keeler was sending out these Christmas cards. Meanwhile, Charlie Valenti, the chair, was down there hand delivering letters asking for money for the library. How do you not see that as being compromised? And the bottom line is he throws out the Christmas card thing. And this ethics board, this new board, now a few of the members seem sincere. And I don't want to prejudge all of them, but it was like I had to jump over hurdles, which was Shuzda, to get to the other members.
Yeah.
Okay?
You know what? I'm going to tell you my advice to you.
If these other members don't fix this board, it's going to end up being the farce the last one was.
Well, my advice, because you get so wrapped up in it because you know they're doing wrong,
I do.
and you want them to be held accountable. And I will tell you that government's not going to hold government accountable. They're not going to do a damn thing, and all you're going to do is get your blood pressure up because you've been trying and trying and trying.
Yeah.
And it's not going to change. Stanley Shezda was put in there to be the same thing that you had before. A big mouth who knows absolutely nothing, that will talk to you like he's the mad scientist that knows it all, and start yelling at you and tell you don't know your ass from your hand. And the reality is that man doesn't know his ass from his hand. That man is just a big mouth, know-it-all, and he's been put in these positions year after year after year after year. You know why? Because he's a big mouth.
Probably.
And he's just going to stick up for the people that put him there.
Yeah. So what he says to me, well, I got a Christmas card. And I said, well, I didn't. And he said, so what?
He's a punk.
If he's that blind of what's going on, and I told him, you just can't be doing. I didn't even get a chance to lean into him. What all the other things happened. It wasn't just the Christmas cards. They raided, the postage in the city clerk's office, and there's no ledger there. Nobody knows how much was processed through, who did it, how much it cost, and so the bottom line is this: if they don't want to review this thing, because I said you should review it, then every council member should say, hey, I want $1,500 set aside for me so I could send out cards to my friends, families, donors, and everything, because that's essentially what they're doing is they're sanctioning this stuff.
Everybody knows that it's wrong. Everybody knows you can't use taxpayers' money to send out Christmas cards to a select few people who are your friends. That's why you raise campaign funds, because it's really just a way of getting people to like you, which is covered under your campaign expenses.
Furthermore, Sean, when you're doing things like that, under the ethics model, that's considered a gift to yourself. You're sending out all that stuff, but it's really, in a sense, a gift to yourself.
I would tell you this. You're 100% right. Some of those things you went after, somebody should be held accountable. They won't. Stanley Shezda is just a big mouth know-it-all who knows shit. And if you can find 10 people that like him, that's 9 more than I know. Okay? And I would tell you, don't waste your time. Maybe you should just bring your grievances right onto the podcast let everybody know what's going on and let them draw their own
And
conclusions.
that's the direction I think I'm going to be heading.
Maybe you should start your
I'll
own
give him one more
podcast,
shot.
The Ethics Podcast by Timmy Thibodeau.
Yeah, one more shot at him in August. Okay, I'm going to hit him with one more shot in August. And look at maybe the other members of there are going to sit down and say, "Wait a minute, we got a problem here. We need to be. You can't." Well, I know they don't want to go back and drag everything on out, but the reason
Why? What do they got to do? Why are they so
Right.
busy?
Well, the thing is, we don't want to hear this, and then they said we're going to ask questions here after you get done. But they kept Shazda kept interrupting me.
Because he's a big mouth. He can't shut his mouth.
And I just couldn't get the opportunity to tell these people, look, the reason why the Christmas card thing got put to bed is because Charlie Valenti was compromised. He was hand delivering a letter asking for money, and he just didn't want to let me speak.
Timmy, when you can be on the Ethics Commission and suspend a DPW commissioner for a week without pay for using a piece of equipment on a private piece of property, and then you become the mayor, and you have the whole DPW up there grading your property,
Right.
and that same ethics committee says, "Oh no, that's different," and therefore we find nothing wrong with it. That tells you right there they're a bunch of slime balls full of shit. I don't know who's on the committee. I don't know the new people. I know Brendan LeQuiz on it. He's a stand-up guy, as stand-up you can get. I know he'll do everything he can to do the right stuff. He'll be blocked by this Shezda at every move. I don't know who the other people are, but I would tell you.
Right, there were 3 women, and one of them was pretty sincere to me, asking good questions. I think the other one was too. They were listening, but look, at my feeling is this, okay? The other 4 were getting shut down by Shuzda.
Yeah,
And
of course.
shutting me down too. And I
That's
didn't
why
like it. And look, if it's going to continue, Sean, I'm going to lay. He said everything's confidential here. Well, it's not confidential. It's my paperwork, and I'll put it on out there because it's a fax. It speaks for itself. And if I have to go after this ethics board again, so be it. But this time, I'll do it differently. I'll do it right online and expose it all, and that's it.
I'm telling you,
Changes in government.
the Timmy Thibodeau,
Never
the Timmy,
gonna fix anything.
Timmy, listen, I'm going to get out of here. The storm's coming. The podcast is freezing up. I think it's because I don't know about where you are, but the wind's blowing so bad that I can hear it smacking off my house.
Yeah.
But listen, next week we got $10,000 worth of new equipment, and everything should be working fine. If not, I'm going into a new business.
All right.
Until then, my friends, Timmy, good night. Everybody, God bless. Stay safe, and we'll see you next